Students of Reddit, what is something your teacher did that really pissed the whole class? Turned off the AC to punish the people passing notes. Man. We had a teacher for our lab who, when the class started talking even a little, would turn off all the 4 fans except for the 5th one, which was right above him. Screamed at the class because he assumed that an intermittent beeping sound that occurred throughout the lecture was somebody receiving texts. It was the projector that he was using, alerting him to the fact that it was overheating. Dumbus. That's almost as good as the time a substitute tried to confiscate a student's phone when it beeped. It was a diabetes thing attached to the student's body. She ended up leaving for her vacation earlier than she thought, so our final projects needed to be done 3 days early. Not a big deal if she hadn't told us with 2 days notice. I don't get how teachers get away with this sheet. We had our teachers change the exam topic. I took graphic design as a GCSE. My practice exam was an A grade. They then changed the exam to resistant materials with about 2 weeks notice. I ended up with a C grade in my GCSE. Only one person got to do the exam we studied for because their mother went ballistic. Numerous times they failed students at an exam, then publicly admitting that passing 40-50% of students that took the exam would be too much, and that's considered normal behavior. He wouldn't let the class go until everyone rolled some dice, and if you got 6 on any of the 2 you could leave. I got so many tardy slips and call homes because of him. 40-degree weather, Celsius, in outback Australia, and she wouldn't turn on the aircon in class even though it worked. Her reason was that when she was young she didn't have an aircon. And she survived. All the students hated her. Mine was the reverse. Middle of winter up in the Blue Mountains. Itch wouldn't turn the heater on in the mornings because she grew up without heated classrooms. And it's like yeah, but you guys also were allowed to wear giant ducking coats, were you not? Our French teacher held a 5-minute detention for the entire class because we waited outside the classroom for her to let us in. You know, like polite kids do. She claimed we were wasting her time and sent a detention note home to all the parents. Better still, on results day she said, "Wow, I didn't expect you to get an A." My German teacher would make you retake spelling tests until you got 100%. Once you did, you could sit and do whatever you like until the whole class got 100%. This caused a lot of pressure on everyone as he used to belittle the students who didn't pass first or the second time. If you was the only one left, he would stand over you and watch you struggle. One test day I decided to bunk off and I got caught. I burst into tears and explained how horrible this teacher was and that I'm never going back into his class. I was moved into a higher set German class with an amazing teacher and my German improved. Gave a C to an 85+% test because she gives grades relative to the average performance of a student. What? In order to encourage students to not work hard and better themselves? And also to undermine their efforts of getting into further education. This was second year, 12th grade, in school. My teacher, unable to manage 20 of these rowdy kids, is pretty enraged by the end of the class. She has a thing about counting every piece of equipment after class. And she begins counting the Newton meters. Now, if you don't know what these are, they are literally a metal spring with plastic around it that measures how much an item weighs. This teacher counted 19. When there was definitely 20. So she holds us back from lunch. She brings the faculty head in. And we get a bollocking from her. Cannot steal from the school. Unjust yada yada. If we were rowdy before, we're aging now. And she requests the least well-behaved kids open their bags. Of course these kids are protesting. But the teacher offers detention if they don't comply. So after rummaging through a bunch of pubescent kids' bags and finding nothing, she finally goes back to her desk to find the Newton meter sitting behind her world's best teacher mug. Look on her face. Priceless. Not just the whole class, but the whole school. She got a bunch of teachers fired because of petty office politics. And those teachers were older and more beloved than her. Forced us to make a donation to a charity when I didn't bring anything in. I got a demerit. Had to argue that not everyone has the ability to give something away. She then told me off for backchatting in front of the class. Everyone was like WTF. I would find her political views and then found a way to donate to opposite charity. There would be a way. And she can't exactly choose the charity. Head teacher of my high school tried to expel me for having an epileptic seizure in front of him. Said I was a danger and distraction to others' pupils and was disrupting his school. I ended up being kept out of school for 2 months while my parents fought my case. In that time almost all of the rest of the teaching staff, who were furious with this decision, kept me supplied with work and even one-to-one tutoring when needed. This was in a rural area where the next nearest school was 40 miles away, so we had no other school choice. He would act like he was enlightened and say she'd like video games rot your brain. All your free time should be spent on education as that is all that matters, but then during the lessons he would go completely off topic and start talking about random shit. Apparently he is making a board game that could compete with chess because he is just that brilliant. On the last day of school it is custom, in Germany, that you don't do anything and just watch a movie or go to town and eat an ice cream. We are a school where you have class from 8 to 16, and we're the state that has summer vacation last. So in the last lesson where we did ducking maths which no one likes, he told us at the end, how does it feel to be the last students doing lessons in the whole of Germany? SRY for bad English. Spent the entire semester in uni telling us half the material would not be on the semester exam. Guess what? All the material was on the semester exam and it tanked all of our scores because the professor was a big dig and hated that people go to uni to get a qualification for a job. He hated anyone in his class that didn't aspire towards a career in academia. We were about 10-11 years old. It was the last period of the day and the music teacher was subbing our science class. He was sitting on the computer and we were all getting on with work. Towards the end of the period our homeroom teacher comes into the classroom and exclaims, "It's the end of the day. Why are you all not packed up?" To which the music teacher replied, "I told them and they refused to." Excuse you? He hadn't said a thing to us, so we all protested. Even so, our homeroom teacher told us off for being disobedient as the music teacher slithered out of the room and we had to stay 10 minutes late as punishment. Lying snake. At university, my professor did not tell us the time of our examination, despite numerous emails from 20-odd students, as well as the head professor of the course. This exam could have been any time from 9 AM to 5 PM. And I lived 90 minutes from campus and relied on crap public transport to get into uni. It got to 9 PM the day before the exam. No one knew when the exam would be. And if we missed it we would fail the whole module. So I took the train to the city where my uni is. Booked a cheap, shitty hotel room for the night, just to make sure I was there on time. We all took the exam at 12 PM. After getting an email an hour before the exam was being held. So I wouldn't have made it in time if I stayed at home. Worst part was that no one cared. Not the professor, the course lead, or the head of our school. They all just left 30 students in the lurch, allowing them to potentially fail the exam and therefore the module. Teacher spent weeks teaching us the Schindler method of learning about natural science instead of teaching from the book. On test day, he gave us the test that came with the teacher's version of the book, so we'd never even covered the info on the test. We all scored very poorly but learned to ignore him in class and study the book on our own. Got caught on my phone in class. Took it away and put it in her drawer and manages to lose it. Everyone gets searched apart from her and she was a supply teacher. Still infuriates me to this day. I was in year 7. Not a teacher but the administration had all of us in middle school wear student IDs on a lanyard color coded by what hallway your classes were in every single day. Sparked massive actual protests from the students. Because even though my town is pretty low on crime rates, that administration, middle school and above, essentially treated every kid like they were either already a criminal or had the strong potential to be. There were so many protests on the lanyard BS they stopped doing it after winter break. because it'd be bad publicity if they kept giving out detentions for insubordination the way they were. They also did things like assigned seating at lunch and forced the middle schoolers who wanted to go see the high school football games to be fenced in so as not to cause trouble. Told us the other class was better. The other class was told the same thing. By same thing, do you mean the other class was told they were better? Or you were better? That we were better? To create some unhealthy competition. In my second semester of my first year of law school, everyone in my class, 80 plus people, had to take a research class. This class was taught by 4 different law librarians but followed the same syllabus. It was also worth 1 credit. These librarians ran the class as if it was 3 credits. We had to read, conduct legal research, and write 2 memos throughout the semester. When we had 5 other classes, all within the 2-4 credit range, plus 1 specific class was notoriously difficult. Anyway, halfway through the semester, my class gets pissed at the workload to credit ratio and someone starts a petition to reduce the number of assignments and or change the grading for the class from a letter grade to pass-fail. Almost the entire class signs. There were a few holdouts. The student who started the petition delivers it to the librarians. The librarians remove 1 or 2 assignments, but otherwise disregard the petition. Those who signed all awkwardly suffered through the rest of the semester. One of our lecturers at uni once. Basically, he doesn't let any of us talk to him unless we make an appointment with him. Something that takes basically 2 minutes to answer? Nope. Write an email and he'll get back to you. You stop him in a hallway to ask him a question? Nope. Only through email and scheduled times. Like even if it literally takes less time to explain something to us than to say I will only answer questions during schedule meetings. So email me and we can arrange something. He will insist on scheduling you in and then locking himself in his office. That's one way to piss off an entire year group of students. Gave us an important test on the last day of school only to cancel it even though we had wasted all our previous evening revising. She had sex with a student's father which made his parents have a divorce. She was as pretty hated. Got her car scratched and popped the wheels by other students. Picked their nose as if no one could see and very badly sneakily swiped it on a guy called Rory's back when he wasn't paying attention. Pure mental. My work sent me on an 3-day advanced Adobe Illustrator course last April in London. Just before the exam. The tutor said, "Oh, by the way, there may be a few questions on this exam that we haven't talked about. Just do your best." What the actual duck, my work has just paid £1,000 for this. His response was that he can't be expected to teach everything. There was about 6 students in the class and we were all pretty pissed. New teacher introduces herself and says, translated for convenience, "My name is Mrs. Fight and if you don't behave I'll live up to it." It was ducking on from this moment. She didn't believe in field trips because she said that kids would have too much fun and learning isn't supposed to be fun. However, the entire grade would take the trip so she was required to take us. So she would make us all sit in a common area of the zoo, museum, etc. And she would hold classroom lessons. It was so upsetting to hear about all the cool things the other kids got to see while we had class.